Okay guys, so today we're going to be talking all about home birth setup, getting everything out, all of our supplies, and figuring out if we need anything else, what we may be low on or what we need to replace. This is our third home birth, so we have most of our supplies. We shouldn't really need to get anything, but there's a few things that you do need to kind of replenish every single time. As far as setting up goes, setting up for home birth is super challenging because you don't want your stuff out for just weeks on end potentially and just sitting there waiting to go into labor. So we usually organize it, have it all available and accessible, but don't actually have it set up until I go into labor, and then we kind of just quickly throw it together. However, this time I was really intentional with my birth space. I really wanted to kind of change up some of the things that we've been doing to make the space more intimate and more emotionally invested in. So there's some of that we definitely can be setting up early, that we will be setting up early, but most of it just involves kind of getting it all together and setting it up. So I always get a lot of questions on what supplies you need for home birth or what supplies we have, what we do, etc. So I'm going to go through it all with you guys, take out all our stuff, and get it all easily accessible. Okay, one thing I wanted to make note of, I really wanted to do a light wall like across here, because this is typically where I labor in the birth tub, and I really wanted some lights. Something I didn't know, and good thing I found out, was if you're planning on having a birth photographer present or videographer present, you have to have incandescent lights. LEDs will flicker constantly and ruin your photos, so it has to be incandescent. Okay, so we got these, which are incandescent, just Christmas lights, and we're going to dangle them here. So we just got some command hooks and these guys, and we're gonna put them up on the wall. And then I also got incandescent rope lights, the rope lights, which are going to go inside my birth pool. Okay, so we got these set up. Now we're gonna quickly set up the birth pool and make sure it's all in good shape. This is our birth pool setup. So this is the La Bassine Pro. We own this one. It has the handles there, the bottom blows up, so it's fairly comfortable. And it's, I'm trying to show you an accurate size. It's like that. So this is why you don't want it set up for all this random amount of time. It's pretty big, like you can see. It takes up a decent amount of space, so you don't want it just set up for weeks on end waiting. But the fortunate thing is this takes like 5 minutes to throw together. It doesn't take long to blow up. And then there's just a liner to go on top of it. The liner also only takes a minute to set up, and then your water. As far as putting the water in the pool goes, I get asked fairly often what the best way of doing it is, and every single house is going to be different. For us, our issue is we have a really, really small hot water tank in this place. So what we do is we have our hose, which for a birthing pool, you need a water drinking certified hose. So we have a 50-foot one. We hook up to our hot water tank, which is in our garage, and then we run the hose all the way upstairs into the birth pool, and then we run it just straight from the hot water tank and essentially drain our hot water tank. And then we put cold water on top of it to then balance it out, and then we play around with our thermometer until we get the perfect temperature. So last time we also were just boiling water with some big pots and pans. Some people do just that. For us, it's just would take way too long to keep boiling hot water. Some people run it straight from their sink. Some people run it from their shower. If you have a shower conveniently close, we don't. So this is actually just kind of the only option that we had, was either to just continuously fill up pots of water or do it from our hot water tank. So it actually works pretty well for us. We've done it every single time. And it's worked pretty well. It's really hard to say how long it actually takes to fill, in all honesty. I'm gonna say probably about an hour, like 45 minutes to an hour to get it perfect, between, using your thermometer and figuring out if it's too hot or it's too cold, getting all the water into it, etc. I'm gonna say, yeah, like about an hour. My best advice, if you're planning on having a water birth at home, the second you're in labor, I would start getting your partner or whomever to start getting your pool ready, because you can always add more hot water to increase the heat if it gets cool. But if you wait until you're basically ready to get in it, you're gonna have quite a while, and you can't have your baby in it if it's not full enough. enough. So as for draining the pool, that's probably my most commonly asked question is how do you drain the pool and who drains the pool? So Jay drains ours every time. I mean, some people's doulas will do it for them. Some people's midwives will help. But I mean, that's technically your responsibility at home birth. So you can get a pump that like reverse pulls it out or whatever. But we actually just used our hose, the exact same hose that we used to fill it. And we drained it down into our downstairs bathroom in our stand-up shower. So we just ran the hose basically backwards out of the pool, and it drained it that way. And it actually worked really quickly and efficiently. It worked really well down our stairs because our birth pool is set up right across from our stairs. So it just was a downward slant. Okay, so to start going through the list of stuff that you need. So a birth pool is optional. You don't at all need to have a birth pool. If you are gonna have a birth pool, you're gonna need an air pump. This is just like a basic Coleman air pump. Don't ask me how it works, I have no idea, but it works really great. It helps to deflate and inflate a pool. Next up, if you're gonna have a birth pool, you're going to want a liner. Mine is specific for my pool, which is the La Bassine Pro. You don't need your pool specific necessarily. There are universal liners that fit most pools, but make sure you check your measurements first. In reference to pools too, a lot of people like to have a tarp under their pool to help protect their floors for just like regular leakage or for people like, you know, getting in and out. I hate the tarps because it just gives me sensory hell. I can't stand the sound of the tarp moving. So I don't have a tarp at all. We use towels and just kind of do the best we can. But a lot of people do like them. So that's something for you to consider. Okay, next up, you're gonna have your, like a drill pump to help you remove the water from the pool after. Like I said, we actually just use the hose reversing out of our pool now, but you can get one of these. We did get one of these, which works with an electric drill. You just drag it out. We found the hose a lot more beneficial, but that's something to consider as well. Of all the things, if you're having a birth pool present, make sure you really look into how you're gonna get your water in particular with hot water, how you're planning on doing that and how you're planning on draining it, and plan all that out before your birth. Next up, you're gonna need a thermometer, and thermometers are actually really important. Your birth pool does have to be within a certain temperature for when you actually deliver and for your baby to go into. So you do need a thermometer. We have this hilarious one that I always laugh at seeing like float around my birth photos. You're gonna want a net for exactly what you think it's for in case people gotta go fishing for you for little poops and stuff and other yucky, yummy type situations. This I literally got at the dollar store for like, I don't know, $3 or something, like $1.50, sorry. And it's a butterfly net that we are using for other purposes. Flashlight. You're going to want a flashlight in your birth kit, in particular if you give birth at night. But for the pool, in particular, they're really, really helpful. Flashlight, you need one. I also have things like, I have a fan, and then I have this ball that my doula had used for my last birth that are just still in here that are really good to have. The ball is really great for counter pressure. She was using this as counter pressure on like my SI area, and it was really, really helpful. And then I get really hot and sweaty and like gross, so a fan was also really helpful. Jay was kind of sitting there and fanning me, so those are things to consider. Next, we have a big old bag of pee pads. You can get them at like PetSmart or anything like that, or Amazon. You also are gonna wanna line them on your bed. You're gonna wanna line them like wherever you're gonna get out of your pool if you're having a water birth. So for me, this is actually kind of, this couch is like central, so I get out of the pool and then I get onto this couch. After I've birthed the placenta as well, ideally, and like I said, who knows, I could last minute decide not even to be in my pool. But so we always have it lined with pee pads and towels and stuff. Just because birth is messy. And then I also have some little newbie diapers in here as well for baby because you want them easily accessible. And then we're getting into stuff more specific to like linens for helping your house and stuff like that. So you're gonna want the good old mesh panties. I also have the disposables from Freedom On that I'm really excited about this time, but I have these left over, so I'm leaving them down here because when you get out of your birth pool or immediately post-birth or whatever the case is, you are gonna wanna put on like mesh panties and one of the giant ass pads pretty quickly. So you wanna have this close and central to where you're ideally gonna be delivering. Next up, towels. Towels beyond towels beyond towels. If you're having a water birth or not, you're gonna need towels no matter where you're planning on delivering in your house. So we're talking like 10 to 15 towels ideally. I obviously have crappy towels if possible. And if you're buying towels for your birth, buy white ones that you can bleach. We have just like random ones from like my parents' house and my house that we were no longer using that we donated to our birth box that are great. You don't need nice ones, but if you're gonna buy them, I recommend white. Then you're gonna want your bed linens. So even if you're not planning on delivering in your bed, you're gonna want bed linens for your home birth, because you're gonna wanna get into your bed after your birth, regardless if you birthed in there or not. So we have like black bedding for our bed to use post-birth, like a full fitted sheets, duvet cover, all that stuff, just because you're bleeding so much post-birth. You don't wanna ruin the stuff that you have. That part always kind of sucks because I really like getting into like my bed, like my quilts and all my stuff, you know what I mean, to be nice, but it's just not worth the risk of losing your bedding to it. And so honestly, I keep my birth linens on for like the first week just because it's messy, and also not to mention you have a new baby in there that's pooping and puking all over the place anyways. But so you're gonna want linens, a full linen set. You're also gonna want a mattress protector for sure, especially if you're considering delivering in your bed, but either way I would have a mattress protector on your bed. Again, post-birth is messy. Some people also really like having a shower curtain as well on their bed for extra protection. There's tons of ways to make your bed for birth, and I will also show you that, how we make our bed in preparation for birth, that potentially actually birthing in the bed, and then also just for afterwards, immediately post. There's lots of tips and tricks of what you can do to kind of make sure that your bed is well lined with the pee pads, the disposable pee pads, all that stuff, and having it all in there. So I will show you guys that, but regardless, you're gonna want linens and a mattress protector for sure. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys how we make our bed for our home births. This could be for actually birthing in your bed or for postpartum. Like we use it mainly just for postpartum. So like I said, for linens, you want to go with like a really dark color that's not going to necessarily show blood, etc., or white. Honestly, I kind of wish I went with white for everything that you could bleach, but anyways, live and learn. So what you're going to need is, for how we do it, we have about 4 of the disposable pee pads, and then we have 1 of the big reusable pee pads that you're going to use. And then we have our mattress cover. This is a reusable mattress cover. Like I said, some people just use like a shower curtain, but I would honestly recommend having one of these in your bed anyways, because you're gonna have a newborn in your bed. And then this is our fitted sheet that goes onto our bed. So like I said, this is black, so I mean it's easily washable, it doesn't show anything, but like I said, if you're buying for your birth, I would do white because you can bleach it. And then these are our pillowcases, again just black. We just like got a really cheap like all black bedding set a while ago. And then this is our comforter, and this one's white, so we can bleach this if we need to. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I make the bed. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do on like my plain bed with nothing else on it, I'm gonna take 2 of the disposable pee pads, and I'm gonna lay them approximately where I am laying most of the time. We're gonna basically like really layer the bed. So the first layer I put directly onto the mattress, and this is my side of the bed. So I'm gonna kind of layer down like this, so that's covered. Next, we're gonna use our reusable mattress cover and put this on top of these guys and the rest of the bed. Okay, next we're gonna put another layer of the disposable pee pads on top of where they are. You can kind of see them through this. So we're gonna do another layer like that. Okay, next you're gonna take your fitted sheet and put your fitted sheet over top of these guys. Then finally, in regards to your layering, you're gonna take your reusable pee pad and then lie your reusable pee pad where you're gonna be lying directly on. You could use more than one. I just find they bunch up. So when you're sleeping on it, this one is not too bad because it's just a single one if it bunches up. If you're actually delivering in the bed, they're gonna bring out more. Like you're gonna wanna put down more, like the reusable ones, or sorry, the disposable ones underneath this and around. Some people also like layering their beds with towels as well, but again, I find it too much of an issue when they bunch up. So that's just me though. And so this I will sleep on and then just use our cover like you normally would. Again, I wouldn't use the cover for if you're actually delivering in your bed, but then I would just put my cover on my bed like usual. This in theory actually won't get dirty because it's just for postpartum, but if it does, this is easily bleachable, and this will be what I sleep on for the first like week or so. Okay, those are all the physical things you're gonna need in regards of your birth as far as your labor and delivery aspect. And then you're gonna start shifting into things that you need for your baby when your baby's born. That to me is such a wild concept. And sometimes I struggle to like bring myself into that thought process of like this whole thing is for the purpose of there will be a baby joining you at the end of that journey. So you need to think about the things that the baby's going to need then. And also then shifting to a postpartum mindset and thinking of the things that you are going to need immediately postpartum, like in the very first hours. So everyone does it a little bit differently. For me, I actually have my hospital bag packed for all of my home births. Some people think that's like a bad karma kind of thing. I personally just feel way more comfortable with it. It's not that I think I'm ever going to have to be transferred, or even that I'm anxious I'm gonna have to be transferred. Where my anxiety sits is if I had to be transferred or I had to leave the house or whatever the case is, I don't have a bag packed, and that really stresses me out. I don't like the idea of thinking of scrambling and pulling stuff together, and it makes me really anxious thinking of going to a hospital without my stuff. So I always have a hospital bag packed and ready, and honestly, it's great because then my bag is down with our birth stuff, and I just pick through it as if I was at a hospital, like as if I was not at my home. I know for some people that takes away from some of the home birth experience of it, but for me, it just makes me too anxious thinking of not having my stuff. So anyways, I always have a hospital bag packed. So I have my baby stuff and my immediate postpartum stuff in a bag, super convenient for me to grab. Okay, let's start for your baby. So for your baby, for your immediate post-birth, like things that you need to have really easily accessible for immediately post-birth, you're gonna want receiving blankets. I'm gonna say like 5 to 6 receiving blankets, possibly more. The more the merrier kind of thing. But I'm gonna say 5 to 6 to have easily accessible in case you need more because they get dirty or in particular wet. You're gonna want a hat. That's really important. Babies lose so much of their heat through the top of their heads. So pretty much immediately post-birth, you're gonna have to place a hat on your baby. You're gonna want a hat available. Diapers, that's something that you're not going to have like you have at the hospital. They just give you the diapers. You're not going to have that at your home birth, so you want to make sure that you have diapers easily accessible. You're going to want a blanket, and a nice blanket, because you're going to want to do skin to skin right after you've given birth. You don't want to put your baby in clothes necessarily, but you need to keep baby warm. So a nice big blanket, really great to have right around. And then I also always have like a sleeper available as well in case baby's not warming up quickly enough, or in case I want to get baby dressed for some reason. I also usually have some swaddle blankets available too. I'm a big swaddler and I really like swaddling my babies. And so sometimes I swaddle my babies relatively quickly. As for mom, again, you got to think of things that you're going to need immediately postpartum at your home birth, just because you don't have the same experience as having a nurse running around and grabbing all these things for you. And again, that's something that sometimes is hard to get your mindset in, that you have to think about the fact that you're going to need things too. So you're going to want a house coat or a robe, something like that, something that's really easy to nurse in, easily accessible, or like a nightgown would work too, something that's buttoned, but you don't want to be constricted. You want to be able to get in and out quickly. And remember too, you're still going to have people coming over and checking to make sure you don't need stitches, checking on your uterus. So you want easy access to that stuff. So I would go with a robe of some form, or like a nightgown with buttons, like something really easy like that. Like I said too, you're going to want the mesh panties if you can get those birth ones, or like the Freedom Mom disposable ones, a heavy duty one. You're going to want those available. And then you're also going to want your postpartum pads. But another thing that honestly is game changing for me is having Depends handy. I also have Depends for my actual birth as well, especially with ruptured waters. I can't stand the feeling of continuously leaking and feeling like wet and gross and sticky. Depends are incredible for that because they hold it all in. I always have like 4 to 5 Depends on hand, and then I actually wear them the first day postpartum. A Peri bottle is critical. My care providers provide me with a Peri bottle every single time, but this time I have the Freedom Mom Peri bottle that I'm really excited about. You're going to want that. You're going to also want, for me, I always have a sitz bath available to me right away. So I have my sitz bath mix there that I can make right away to help heal myself a little bit. Ice packs, like I now have my Freedom Mom ice packs, which I'm really excited about. Or you can make your own padsicles. Those are all things that you're going to want to have pre-made for your birth so that you can have them in the first few hours. That is a serious game changer. Your vagina is just a mess. Like it is. It's a mess the first few days. It's super uncomfortable. It's been through so much. You want to give her some TLC. Highly recommend having like the padsicles, icicles, however you want to do it. Highly recommend taking care of her however she needs that way. So have that stuff ready previous to your birth. You're gonna wanna have your nursing pads available. I always use the disposable for the first few weeks and then I switch to my reusable, but that's up to you. And then up to you if you wanna have bralettes available. I always have bralettes around. I typically don't want them in the first like day post-birth, but you may surprise yourself on the things that you want and you don't want. Something else to think about for ahead of time is like snacks that you may want immediately post. Everyone always has the best post-birth meals. You always order like the best food, like things that, I don't know, you always have the craziest of all craevings. If you've had a baby before, you 100% know that. I always like to think of things like Gatorade, energy bars, granola bars, crackers, like snacks and stuff like that to have convenient for the first little while, because in post-birth, you're starving. I swear, like you just can't be full because you've just done so much physical labor. So these are all things that I pack, and like I said, I have in like a hospital bag type situation, and then I also have like clothes, etc. Like I have an excessive amount of things in case I have to leave. You don't have to do that, but I recommend having it like in a bag, something that you can easily take up and upstairs and downstairs if you need to, or whatever you need to do. And you're gonna want to have these things present in your actual birth space. So these are things that I'm going to be putting in my bag and having ready along with our birth supplies and storing them kind of all together so we can easily pull them out. For all of these things that I've named, you guys can download all of my checklists that I've uploaded for you guys. So there's the home birth checklist, which includes all the stuff for a tub birth if you're planning on having a tub birth. And then the home birth checklist for baby and home birth checklist for mom. You can download them all and then print them off if you want and check them off as you're going to make sure that you've got everything that you need. There's also space on them to add in some of your own things that you may want for personal touches. Personal touches are truthfully what make or break a birth, in my opinion, and things that you're really going to want to kind of add to your list. But all in all, that is pretty much it for getting ready for our home birth. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and let me know if you have any questions and let me know how it goes.